Hello everyone, welcome to the video. My name is Cosolix. Today on Neutralix, we're going to be talking about how to approach in Brawlhalla. I know, a lot of people are like, how do you approach? This game is not built for approaching, but now it is. It used to not be. So let's talk about it. So first thing just to talk about, we're going to go to the training room and I'm going to be talking about the art of approaching. Everything you need to know and how to get good with it. The first warning, it's tough. It is tough to approach, but we'll be going over why and how to make it as easy as possible. If you enjoy this type of stuff, you want to learn more about Brawlhalla, get better at Brawlhalla, subscribe to Neutralix, because this channel is just based on educational Brawlhalla content. We want to teach you how to get better at Brawlhalla, so subscribe if you want to do that. You click this video because you want to improve at Brawlhalla, so subscribe. Okay, so the art of approaching is, sadly, there's 3 steps to Brawlhalla. This is how you win at Brawlhalla. There's 3 things you gotta do. Number 1, you got to get your opponent to miss an attack. That is the hard part that we're focusing on this video. Number 2, you got to decide if you can punish your opponent for missing the attack. So it's like avoid, can you avoid them? Can you punish them? And then can you combo them? And then you kind of repeat. It's just you repeat the cycle. So let's talk about that one thing. Can you avoid them? So if we're talking about approaching, how do we get them to miss an attack while we're approaching? That's the problem. It's a lot easier to play patient and get your opponent to miss via running, but you can also get them to miss via pressuring. You can also just attack them straight up if you're like really sure it's gonna work, but we're gonna be talking about that. So in training room, I'm just gonna move the bot to the corner because that's where people like to sit. We're gonna just reset them in the corner. So the first thing is we need to get them to miss. So how do you guarantee that they're gonna miss? You have to actually be in something we're gonna call the reactive zone, the reactable zone, whatever. Let me show you what I mean. Actually, we're gonna give Scarlet a lance. Actually a hammer, because sure. Now check this out. Let's draw this out. We have to kind of understand what we're looking at here. So the reactable zone is an area on the map where you can react to anything your opponent does. So Scarlet could downlight, they could dash downlight, dash side light about here. Then you have like maybe neutral air, recovery. This is a dangerous zone, you could say. There's the end sig here. You don't want to be here. So this line, this imaginary line, divides the reactable zone where you can react to things and the unreactable zone where you can't react to things. And to get your opponent to miss, you have to pressure them in a way that's going to make them feel like they have to attack. You can approach by getting really close to stack. Like let's say you're in this unreactable zone and let's say Roland is here, then it's whoever attacks first wins. That's how you approach. You get really close to stack with them and then you hit them, and you have to hit them with really fast moves. So that's one way, but not every weapon's good at that. Lance in this situation has no diagonal hitboxes. Same with like hammer, grounded, you have nothing diagonal. It's pretty hard to win those interactions, especially against weapons like Katars, for instance. So if you're on weapons like hammer, or on average, the safest way of doing this is to flirt with this unreactable zone. So you go in it and then you get out of it. So that's a form of pressure. One thing people would do is like empty hopping. You go in it and then you can empty hop and you're at this point like right on this line where you can still react to anything that's happening. Or you dash jump in it, dash jump out. You dash jump in, dodge out. There's a lot of ways. So think of this in game. Think of the line as like here. We're going in and out. We're going in and out. We're going in and out. We're going on the line like this. And you see the idea is we're as close to our opponent as possible and a point where they think that they can attack us, but they can't. That's how you approach with movement. So it's like pressuring, you could like dash cancel, you can use movements, like you can do like this. It's in and out of that unreactable zone where we're trying to stay in the reactable zone. A lot of people will just kind of run, give up space, and sit on the side of the map. That's one way of doing it, but the optimal way is taking the stage because we want to limit our opponent's options. This Scarlet's on the side of the map. They don't have movement options to work with. So they're either going to have to go off stage or they're going to have to come close to me into that unreactable zone, and then it's just going to be a mash off, kind of like when you're really close to stack, like no way you're going to react to a sword end light kind of thing. So then that's where instincts kind of plays into it, which we'll be talking about next. But yeah, so if you want to approach your opponent, get as close to that unreactable zone as possible. It's an imaginary line that you determine. So on hammer, it's about here. And then you just pressure in this area. Then you avoid their attack, and then you can attack yourself. You can also approach with baits. So for instance, if I am on lance, you can do it on sword too, but I can go in and out, and I'm baiting with the Sare. I'm making this Scarlet make the decision. Can I punish this lance Sare? Can I not? Sometimes they'll bite. It's like fishing, you know, you're casting a fishing rod, and then you're like trying to get the fish to catch the bait. This is a bait. And you can do the same with moves with drifts. So like Nair, I kind of fall back, you know. Sometimes people like go like this, and then you can like run away. That's like Sarah as well. You can like do this, jump there. There's a lot of ways to bait with movement. You can even mid combo bait with movement. So like let's say I sidelight Nair. Now that unreactable zone, well, there's a hammer Sarah to watch out for, hammer Dare, but I'm right on that line. So if I'm trying to flirt with that line, I can Nair, Dare in the opposite direction. That's a bait. And you'll see me do this a lot in tournament and some other pros where they'll go for these bait follow-ups, or like follow-ups with a ton of momentum. Like you see, like let's say I do a jump Sarah. See how far to the side I'm already outside of that unreactable zone. Now I can just dodge if they try and hit me. So there's certain moves where you're kind of accomplishing the same thing, where you're flirting with that unreactable zone, then it takes you to the reactable zone. No different than sidelight Nair, Sarah in the opposite direction. We've already talked about Dare in the opposite direction. Some signatures can take you there, not on Roland. Maybe like Athea's Lance side sig. There's ways to bait with a lot of moves in this game. And I'm showing you on Lance. Let's go on Sword, for instance. Downlight recovery is the same idea, where look how high up you go. You're in the unreactable zone, and then you go a little bit further away, get to that reactable zone. You kind of see what I mean? You get this great advantage state below your opponent. And that's so good. Same with Downlight Sarah. Look how far away you are now. Now you can pressure them even more off stage. Downlight Downer is a bit tougher because now we're stacked. But if you like hold back with it, you get that same advantage state. So again, we want to be on that line. And this is what spacing is. Maybe I make a separate video, but it's basically determining what's that unreactable zone and where the reactable zone meet. So for example, the Scarlet's unarmed. You got unarmed D light to watch out for, maybe an N light, but I could be like here and I can react to anything the Scarlet does. I could dodge away, I can jump away. I am not going to get hit if I'm here. So then it's flirting with this space and getting the Scarlet to miss via movement options. And that is how you pressure, and that's how you approach. Now, there is one more thing I want to talk about, is if you're on specific weapons that are really good stacked, like Sword, for instance, Sword and Light is great, you can just get really close to your opponent when it's like so awkward and stacked. And weapons with better stacked options, you can just hit them outright. You run at them and then you hit them. For example, Katars. Katars, they're the king of this. So let me just pick a hit. Katars Legend. Lucian, sure. Lucian players, like, they'll still pressure the same way, but let's say they want to mix it up. If you get to the unreactable zone, then whoever is just better in the unreactable zone wins, or someone will try and get out of that unreactable zone. So if you get stacked and you're like, oh, I know Katara Endlight's gonna hit here, then yeah, it's easy. They could be moving in the unreactable zone, so it's hard to hit them. But certain weapons, like, look how big this Ensig is. Like, there's just certain options that you have on some characters that they do so well in this zone. Like, think of like Katars in this zone compared to Lance. Lance has only Downlight, and Downlight's a good option, don't get me wrong, but Katars just has way more options to true combo and everything in this zone. Same with Blasters. You have Blaster Downlight, but it's incredibly risky. Like, Katars have Sidelight, they got Downlight, they got Neutral Air. The weapon is built for being in this zone. They want to get really close and awkward to you. They just want to get stacked, basically. Weapons that want to get stacked, they'll strive in it a lot more. So if you want to approach, you can play weapons that are a bit better stacked. You have to avoid, you know, those heavy weapon attacks properly and whatnot and get stacked. But if you're playing a weapon like Blasters, then flirting where that line is of reactable and unreactable, and then get into the unreactable zone and then get out. And it's just pressuring in a lot of ways. So you can practice like a ton of movement options. This is one that I've been practicing a lot lately, and you've been seeing a lot of pros go for it. It's a great little option. Same thing with empty hopping, because then you're going to be both in the air and on the ground. You can kind of decide Let's say you want to avoid attack, you can dodge. Let's say you want to be grounded, you just go grounded. It's a great way of pressuring, and Stingray is amazing at that. What I used to do back in the day was dash dancing. The only thing is the backdash locks you in frames, which is sad, but hopefully that gets buffed one day soon. And yeah, maybe watch a movement guide separate, but think about approaching via pressure most of the time. And if you want to play, you know, if you want to run at your opponents and maybe pick up the weapons that are a bit better at that, but I definitely just pressure via that line. And let's think of that line even more so right here. Let's say our opponent's on Canon, for instance. Well, there's Canon downlight. Okay, we got to avoid that. They could even like dash downlight, you know, like you gotta really watch out for the range because you can cover space very quickly now. So I would want to be like about here. Like, look how far away I am, but then I'm flirting with the zone. You see what I mean? And then let's say they pressure me a little bit, then we are going to get stacked. And then it's more like instincts, like, okay, if they can't react to my attacks, I'm just going to go for these big, nice attacks. That, or you can like back out. Like, let's say the Sigil goes towards me, I dash away, kind of thing. And I used to do that a lot back in the day, where I'd force myself into that reactable zone as much as possible because I have more control over it. Than on Lance, the unreactable zone is a lot more difficult than some other weapons, for instance. But same thing, let's switch Sidra to Lance. A lot of people want to know, how do you beat Lance? Lance is so horizontal, but you can actually react diagonally. They don't have a diagonal option right here. So I can be in this, and this is an unreactable, this is the reactable zone, because I can react to an NSIG. The NSIG has a bit of startup. And some Lance Legends don't have good NSIGs to cover this diagonal dead zone when they're on the ground. Sure, Lance players could like jump stairs, so maybe you're gonna want to be out here, and then you're like, doop, doop, and then like, I don't know, you approach like with a Sarah or whatever, like go more diagonal. But diagonal is a great way to go against Lance players because they just don't have an option there. Similar with Hammer as well. They both have dead zones there. Blasters as well, they have a dead zone up here diagonally. You don't want to float here too much because you're going to waste your options, and then when you do touch grounded, you're in a really dangerous position. So what you could do is like a dash jump, and then you could like dodge back. You could like dash jump, and then fall back. There's a lot of ways to flirt in the opponent's dead zones. So it's about understanding the range of the weapon. Like Lance has a ton of range, so horizontally I'm going to want to be here, or I get as close to stacked as possible and their only option is downlight. At least with Katars, that's like what you'd want. You want to get close to stacked. Because they have no options here. They have to go horizontal. But being here, this is a dangerous zone against Lance. So you're going to want to be like back here. And it depends on every single weapon. Just think about what options does my opponent have, and how can I plan to avoid every option they have. And then once you are sure that you can avoid their options, just flirt with as close to avoiding it as possible. And make them think that they can hit you. A Lance player might think that they can sidelight you here, but because you're moving so much, you can just dodge, and then you can react to it. If you're doing that over here, you can't really dodge in time because it's unreactable. It's like too close, not enough startup frames, etc. So guys, that's how you approach in Brawlhalla. It is difficult, but with new movement more recently and everything, it's getting easier and easier to kind of flirt and pressure and have range across the stage at the same time. So Brawlhalla's in a great state, but this is a really difficult thing to do. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to try and reply to as many as possible. This is a very difficult thing to do. I can actually, you know what? I'm going to add one more thing to this video just to help. Let's go to an experimental 1v1. I'm gonna play, I wish there was Katars Lance, because I kind of want to show you the difference between the two. I'm not great with blasters. Who's a good Katars legend? There's bow downlight, but then I'd want to be stacked in the air. We can go like, sorry, don't have a ton of horizontal range. You know, let's go Lin Fei. That's a good, like, Katars Lance in a way. Let's go attack. So I'm just going to show you exactly what I mean. Just in an actual game now. El Phoenixo. Let's do this. Thea is going to be a bit annoying to do this with. Okay. So on unarmed, I don't have a ton of horizontal range, so even being in this zone, I'm not going to be able to get a ton of hits. But you see, look, I'm going to pressure. Oh, made a mistake. Pressure. I can react. You know, I'm in this zone. Oh, I can't punish that. Oh, dead zone diagonal. You see I'm just staying a little bit away. I missed that Sair. It was a bad Sair. Me being diagonal there, I didn't get hit. I'm kind of... Talking while playing is a bit tough. But I'm waiting. See, I was able to react to that. Oh, I almost got that. I didn't avoid that properly. I just know how Theo works. Okay, I'm in a position I can react to it. I can react to that. And you see I'm a little bit far away, but it's pressuring. It's not approaching, but it's approaching with movement. Now on guitars, I can actually get really close to stacked and run at my opponent. So when I do get stacked, like, that side like was a punish, but I can get like, okay, that was also a punish. You can't really force being stacked. It's more about natural, and you can try to be. But really plan that unreactable zone. That was a good dodge read. Holy crap, Thea. Not a dodge read, but like using the horn. This guy's an experimental pro. But like on guitars, it's not forcing being stacked. You play with the first game plan, and then when you get stacked, you have advantage state. There, I tried baiting with an attack. Dead. If you slow down the gameplay, you can see exactly what I mean. I was able to react to that. I was able to react to that down there. I reacted to that side light. I reacted to that Sair. Just a little bit not stacked, but outside of the Lance player's range. And you can see me flirting with that unreactable zone. Kind of in it right now. I was able to react to that. I missed it down there, though. And you can see I'm, like, controlling it a lot more. Sometimes I'll do stuff for instincts, and it's not exactly planned. Oh, that just beat my down light? Okay, that's crazy. Okay, that just beat my thing. I also don't play Linfei, guys. Oh, there we go. I was able to react to that down there. Just think of like dead zones on the weapons, and you can kind of flirt as close as possible to them. That's how you approach. It's approaching with spacing. That's annoying. That's annoying. Able to react to that. And Sig. I was empty hopping. And you can see I'm using the empty hops there. Here I can empty hop. Was able to react. Reacted. Was just far enough away to react. Same with that. And you can see how I'm positioning myself. I dashed away there to get position. And yeah, easy. And he disconnected. So guys, that's how you approach. It might not be the approaching you clicked on this video to think, but it is actually approaching. That is how you approach in Brawlhalla. You pressure and force your opponent to make a mistake. So guys, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys all later. Subscribe for more. Peace.